In this video, I'm going to explore how I can fly a paramotor faster, but what I'm most excited about is not the increase in speed, rather the increase in my own ability to control how high I am at any given moment. Paramotors don't have a yoke or a stick like an airplane has. There is no up and down control. Up until this point, all I've had to control my altitude has been increasing or decreasing the throttle. But today I'm going to attach the speed system, and this way I'll be able to be more precise, doing a nap of the earth style of flying, hugging the terrain, and I hope you guys stick around for the duration of this video so that you can learn as I learn. In spite of my own aggressive flying style, I value my physical well-being, and I would encourage you to practice any sort of advancements in the same fashion that I take. I religiously study the physics of any sort of modifications to a glider, such as the methods I'm about to explain. In addition to that, I consult with peers who are several steps ahead of me in their own paramotor flying progression. Of course, start high and go when the weather is prime. In this explanation, I'm comparing it to a general aviation aircraft. In this model, I've got a Cessna 172 cruising at about 50% power, and it's going 120 miles per hour. It's not increasing or decreasing in height. And when that Cessna 172 powers up to 100%, the speed increases to 190 miles per hour without much change in the altitude. It will pitch up a little bit, but more notably, the speed increases. The paramotor is different from the airplane in the sense that while cruising at 30 miles per hour with about 50% power, the pilot puts in 100% power, but the paramotor doesn't really accelerate. Instead, it increases its climb rate? Interesting, so it's different. Now, the reason that this is because the paramotor is suspended by strings and its thrust point is down below. So when the pilot increases the power, the paramotor pilot physically swings forward, increasing the climb rate without actually increasing the speed. This is where all of the controls for speed are located on your paramotor, right there at the risers. The speed system is operated at the front of the riser system, and it's controlled by a speed bar with a set of lines. It runs through your paramotor's harness and then up to the A risers, where when you extend your legs, it pulls the front edge of your glider down, the leading edge, changing the angle of attack. And then here at the back of the risers, you have a trim tab. The trim system does the same thing by changing the angle of attack, but instead of pulling on the front or raising the front, it lowers and raises the back, the trailing edge of the glider. So angle of attack is the angular difference between the chord line and the relative wind. And then we measure that angular difference to get our angle of attack. But what does that mean? So the relative wind is like the wind that is moving against our glider. How is it flowing against our glider? For example, if you take your hand and you move it through the air, you can feel the air hitting the back of your hand. That's because the relative air is moving against your hand in this direction. So same thing with a glider. As we fly our gliders, the air is flowing the direction, the opposite direction in which the glider is moving. The chord line is the line that runs through the center of the glider. The way we're looking at this, the glider is like this. And that chord is the line that would go right through here. So the angular difference between the relative wind and the chord line is changed when the leading edge or trailing edge raises and lowers. So if we were to increase our angle of attack, the leading edge comes up, the trailing edge goes down, and we increase our angle of attack. Vice versa, we can decrease our angle of attack by bringing the leading edge down or the trailing edge up. So here we have the forces acting on the glider, and then the byproduct of that is the resultant force. So If we increase the angle of attack with our glider using either the trim system or the speed system, we increase the lift, but we also increase the drag. Here's the best way to imagine this. If you've ever been driving down the road and stuck your hand out your car window, you'll notice that when you increase the angle of your hand, that your hand goes up, but it also gets forced back, right? Because we're increasing the lift and increasing the drag. When we increase the angle of attack, we're also increasing the drag, so we can use this to our advantage when learning how to fly our paramotors faster. There is one notable difference between the speed system and the trim system. That is that the trim system operates a lot more like cruise control in your car, where the speed system is something that you can constantly adjust by extending or retracting your legs to not only be able to adjust your speed, but increase and decrease your climb rate.
I want to get accurate readings, so I'm going to go in the same direction. So I'm going to go ahead and turn it towards the mountain to go with the wind. All tests will be done going with the wind. And I'm going to bring the trims into all the way in. Stow those back up on the clips. Go. So I'm going to pull out the phone now. This has my GPS tracker going. So we're at a solid 32. Remember, our climb without the use of Speedbar is entirely controlled by throttle. So now I'm going to set this down and we can trim out all the way. Okay, there's trimmed all the way out. 45 miles per hour, so that's an increase. We were doing 13 miles per hour faster. That's not bad at all. So that's with the trims. So, here's the downside. As mentioned, using the trim systems, I cannot quickly adjust that or change my speed because I have to take my hands off the brakes if I was flying along and then pull these all the way in with both hands, pulling them in to slow down the paramotor. And we're going to go back to 3 and back to 3 and stow these back on the magnets. All right, continuing to climb so we can run some more tests. So the speed bar, that's under my seat. The speed bar will do the same thing. Instead of pulling that trailing edge back, instead of lowering the back end, we're instead going to be making adjustments to the front end, bringing it down and up very quickly just by extending and bringing the legs back in. We're able to play with this speed bar. Okay, so we want to be in the same direction once again to make sure we have a fair reading. Cruising right at about 31, 32. It's going to go up, I think, as we go with the wind. There's 33 miles per hour, 34. Coming out of a turn, we're going to get a little bit of added speed and a boost in height, and then it's going to drop back down. Now I'm going to extend the speed bar, and let's see what happens. We were at 33. 45. And then if I quickly let up on the speed bar, going to go up. Wow. Holy smokes. What a thrill ride. Very cool. So I'm able to accomplish the same speed using the speed bar, but I can adjust it much faster. I'm going to go ahead and put away the speedometer here. Down we go. And up. Oh my gosh.
Yeah, the control is out of this world. I don't know. I had so much fun getting to play with it. This has been such an awesome experience, getting to finally connect the Speedbar to this Dudek Warp 18 meter. This wing is amazing, and it was just made amazinger. I know that's not a word, but it's incredible what I'm able to do now that I have this Speedbar attached. Check this out.
So I'm going to maintain throttle here and check out what happens to my altitude. Let's see if I can hold this and push down, and we're going down. So check this out. And then up. Whoa, check that out. And down. Oh my gosh, this is such a connected way to fly. Absolutely amazing. So let's hurry over now that we have speed. We're going to push out towards the highway.
So I'm just going to go ahead and throw in some closing thoughts as I make my way out to the interstate here. If you own a beginner or intermediate glider, the Speedbar is going to be a lot safer, but the compromise is it's not going to be as wild as a ride as you're seeing in this video, which is probably a good thing, because if you don't have a lot of experience, or you're not really imagining how this Speedbar and messing with the speed system works, you could get yourself hurt quickly. And just use this video as a reference. Imagine when you apply that Speedbar, you're descending, and you're descending rather quickly. So if you were to push that Speedbar full out, the angle of attack drops, that leading edge is coming down, and it's going to increase your speed towards the ground rather rapidly. So that's the biggest safety concern that I'm trying to adjust to, is really precisely predicting how much of a drop I can expect by how much input of the Speedbar I apply. There's another huge factor to this, and that's using the tip steering system. So the rule of thumb is that when you're using the speed system, or when you're using the trims for that matter, any element of speed, you want to refrain from using the brakes on the risers. Instead, you would go to the tip steering lines. And that's because any sort of deformation of that trailing edge of the glider is going to potentially cause a collapse. And any sort of collapse that close to the ground as you're seeing in this video is probably catastrophic. This is where I don't necessarily have the same opinion as others, and that is that I feel as though I can fly low. I feel like individuals can fly low to the ground in an ideal situation with protective equipment. That way it mimics a crash like that of a motorcycle. So I grew up riding dirt bikes, being really close proximity to all the terrain, and I love that. It's stimulating. It gives me that adrenaline boost by being so close to things, like here popping over the ridge and witnessing the sunrise. Man, it was a beautiful morning. But the cost of that is you miss time using the Speedbar, and it's going to bite you in the butt in a bad way. In all likeliness, you'll break bones. Best case scenario, you slide it in and really skin yourself up. And in the ultimate worst case scenario, like if you were to attempt this stuff prematurely, before you're ready, before your skills are there, you could seriously hurt yourself. The Speedbar is a great thing. If you've got it, get up high. Don't mimic this necessarily. I've got quite a bit of experience. I hope you guys enjoyed this video. If you did, it'd be a huge favor to me by giving it a thumbs up. And if you haven't subscribed to the channel already, it makes me feel good. This video alone took hours and hours to film and edit. So if you enjoyed it, I hope to see you guys in the next one. Peace out, guys.